Jacob stumble out bed to the kitchen to make your first cup of coffee, the first of many for the day. You scramble, find the remote to turn the TV on and see what's been happening around the world while you have been asleep, if that is what you call that. It's tossing and turning, struggling to catch a few Z's, only to find out that the world is in even more chaos than before. You laid your head down last night, now you only know there is only one place for you to visit before you go insane. One asks what that even is, so you turn on the best show to help make sense of it, and that is the Panic and Rehab Show, where you're reminded of all the noise. It's just that noise that they want you to panic over. Watching Panic and Rehab so eases your mind and heart, and will make you even noise before the end of the show. Now you're done with your third cup of coffee and ready to face the world. But we all know when you wake up again in the morning and you turn on the news, you will need your daily dose of the Panic and Rehab Show. To remind you that the sun did rise and it will set, and all these other problems in the world will come and go, which is what you are reminded of, as long as you tune in and yours the Panic and Rehab Show.
Good morning. It is 8 o'clock on a Wednesday morning, the 27th, and as usual, the information we're going to do today is from Tony, because mine is always incomplete. Don't ask me why. I don't know. I got the idiot version of the AI, but
I hear
I was gonna, a little side note, because we had a little bit of active chat room yesterday.
right.
I found out that person's from Argentina.
Argentina.
Yeah, isn't that wild?
What the heck?
Yeah. So we'll see. There was actually two of them. One of them's from Argentina. I don't know where the other one's from, but because I did not get a chance to speak to them, and because they actually showed up in my true crimes chat room last
Oh wow.
night. Yeah, they're just biting at the bits to debate me. So, anyways, it was actually a lot nicer conversation last night than we had here. But you know, kind of acting like a little bit more civil. But we'll get on to this morning's show. And I thought we were going to be late, and and I don't mind saying why. I had to use a restroom at the very last minute. I mean, very last minute. And so we still getting kicked off here at a decent time, right on time, as if I'm not mistaken. Of course,
That
I'm
that
rambling on
actually
talking about all
happens to
this.
me more often than people realize.
Yeah,
I mean, very last second, and you got to run.
yeah, it was. Especially like I'm sure you probably have certain medications that do this to you too. You
Yep,
don't get much warning. I mean,
I
once
do. I
once
do.
you got to go, you got to go. And but
Right, right.
anyways, so that's TMI. I know. So we'll kick this off. Tony, I'll let you get it kicked off, and I'll bring my notes up because I had to do notes because I couldn't read my email. It's one technical problem after another.
Yeah, my list has went all kind of crazy. Give me just a second. Okay, okay. I don't know what the heck all this is.
And you know what I like about yours is yours actually uh, lists when the year they passed away also. And see, mine does
Yeah,
not.
yeah. Well, I mean, sometimes it does. It doesn't always give the date of death.
Yeah, I was going to type in my name. I was afraid it would come up with a expiration date on it. You know, be like,
I hear
what?
you. I
That
hear
was
you.
3 days ago. Oh my God. Oh shoot.
Okay, well, today's date, May 27th, boasts a roster of legendary trailblazers across entertainment, history, and science. First
Yes.
up, first up on the list is Cornelius Vanderbilt, the ruthless railroad and shipping magnate who became one of the richest Americans in history. In
Yeah, I was going to say.
history,
And I was going to say one of the most wealthiest families in history
right? Yeah.
for America. That is.
He was born in 1794.
I
1794,
remember that as if it was just yesterday.
right? Yeah. He died in 1877, by the way. So,
Would you know that's a ripe old age for the time?
right, right. Yeah. People
You know,
back then
just
didn't
just
really
goes
live all that long.
that just goes to show you, money adds time to your years just as well as it does today as it did back then. It's something about having money
Can't,
just extends your life.
right. You can't take it with you. So,
Yeah, and I don't know. Vanderbilt Mansion is it's like the most expensive place for its time. If it was to be built today, it would be astronomical to build.
oh, yeah. I mean, the cost of construction materials and everything is way higher and everything than it was back then. Back then, you just go chop some trees down and mill them. You know.
Yeah. Plus, he traveled the world looking for the right building materials. Tiles, statues, furniture, everything you can imagine. He went. He searched the world for this stuff. And of course, I think it's on sets on like 2,000 acres. It has its own railroad on it,
Right,
which obviously
right.
being a railroad
Yeah, I
tycoon.
mean, yeah, he could afford to do that though. I mean, as I said, you can't take it with you. So
That's right. You can't take it with you. But
yeah.
yeah, that's Vanderbilt. Like that's everybody always talks about the Rockefellers and the Kennedys and all that. Uh, you know,
Oh
uh,
yeah, yeah. But yeah, I mean, he's right up there with like the Rothschilds and all that. That family, the Vanderbilt
Yeah,
family. They were, again, some of the richest people in American history. So
yeah. It was like he was like the original Amazon back in the day, because they started using railroads to ship things across the country. That's when
right.
the Sears and Roebuck catalogs. You know how that got
Hmm.
started, right? You probably do. You're a bookworm. Uh, but somebody who was working the railroad uh, made a deal with a guy to sell, because railroad engineers, they live by the or the watch. You know, times board
Right.
and get going. So they started selling watches, and then it turned into furniture and all kinds of things, grand pianos, everything you
Hmm.
can imagine that was being imported over here from Europe and being built in America. They put it in a catalog,
Right.
and then they shipped it along the railroad that the guy worked on. So
Right.
just a little side note on that. I do know a little bit sometimes.
Well, I mean, if you're like me, you're a wealth of useless knowledge. You know?
Well, I'm a wealth of useless
So
somethings. It depends
I
on who
hear
you
you.
talk to. Okay.
Well, another iconic individual is up next. Wild Bill Hickok was born in 1837, and of course, he died in 1876. See there, what we
Yeah.
were talking about, the ridiculously long lives of the people of uh, the Old West and etc. He was an iconic folk hero, gunfighter, and lawman. So yeah, he
And a
and
very good showman.
yeah, I was about to say, and he had a traveling show that featured a lot of the greats from the old west,
You know.
you know, and uh, and that ran for a long time.
Yes. And of course, they had a
Yeah.
lot of famous people. Uh,
Oh
you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
Uh,
One notable was Calamity Jane. She
yes.
was a part of his famous show, and
And
you know
not a
they,
pretty woman. Just saying.
no,
Not
no,
a
no,
not a pretty woman.
no. She
But I wouldn't want to make her mad.
right, right, most definitely not. I mean, she was awesome with a gun.
Yeah. Which is a dangerous thing in itself. You give a woman a gun. Ooh. You give an ugly woman a gun. Oh hell no. But hey, good morning, Watchman. Good morning, Big Matt.
Matt,
Uh, good to see you this morning. But we'll go ahead, Tony, with the next one there, sir.
okay. Well, we have Dashiell Hammett, born in 1894 and died in 1961. Now, that's a pretty good life. That's a
That
pretty
is a
good
good
life.
life. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Um, Dashiell was master of hard-boiled detective fiction, um, famous for the Maltese Falcon.
Very.
Most
That's a
people,
iconic
right? Most
detective.
people have at least heard of the Maltese Falcon.
Yeah.
You know, it's even been referenced in movies and television. You know,
I
throughout.
mean, even I've heard of it. So that
Right,
tells you something.
right, right. You know,
Oh man. So got what's the next one there? I'll try to read this one
okay.
just to give you a little break. I know you get a little tired after you 3 or 4. I do. I don't know. Just, I'm just kidding, by the way. Uh, uh, Rachel Carson,
That's right.
born in 1907, uh, died in 1964. Not a super long life, but
Right,
a
right,
marine biologist and author of The Silent Spring, whose work catalyzed the global environmental movement. Ooh,
right.
yeah,
Yeah,
so we
because
got
he was,
that person to thank for all the climate control warriors.
yeah, climate change warriors. Yeah, Watchman says he heard of the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, Star Wars.
Yeah, right, right. Um,
You nerd, Watchman, you fucking nerd.
hey, I freely admit I'm a nerd, man.
I, I know you are. Uh, and I'm not. And when I say I'm not, which means I'm not a deep reader.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Now I will wait for the movie to come out, and I'll
Brilliant
watch the movie. Of
freighter
course,
ship. Yep.
you know what's when I say I always wait for the movie. For one, I'm dyslexic, so that.
Yeah, it makes it a little difficult to read there. Yeah.
But I always hear people say the movie is wasn't as good as the book.
Well,
Uh,
see, here's the thing. Here's the thing. See, in the book, they can include details and backstories and things like that that you just don't get from the movies. And there's a lot of times there's entire other sub storylines and subplots and everything that you don't get from the movies. So
right.
that's the reason why a lot of people say, hey, the book was way better than the movie. And
Yeah,
I don't
because it'd
know.
be a 5 hour movie if they
Right,
added all of
right,
it in
right.
there.
They have to chop a lot out, to make the movie because people would get really bored, after the second or third intermission. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But a lot of people, like myself, when you read a book, I'm seeing it in my mind as though I was sitting in a movie theater watching the movie. So, I mean, I get that same benefit. You know, this
yeah.
the next person on our list is actually one of my favorites, Vincent Price. Born in 1911.
Iconic, iconic.
Absolutely iconic. And yes, the Lord of the Rings books are a lot better than the movies.
See, rub it in, rub it in.
But yeah, he was born in 1911 and died in 1993.
Long life.
Of course, everyone knows he was a master of horror cinema. He was famous for his campy, macabre acting and his eerie voice. That's what he was the most famous for, was his voice.
And
I
your
mean, even Michael
eyebrows.
Jackson used his voice in Thriller.
Yep.
You
Uh,
know,
Even the eyebrows. You know what I mean?
right? he had uh, that facial control. He could give you those looks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and if those who are younger and don't know anything about Vincent Price, I say Google him and then watch some of the old black and white movies.
Yeah,
You
watch some of
obviously,
his movies and TV shows as well. He was on
you know,
TV as well.
but I mean,
So
like today, the a horror movie is just gore.
right, yeah, it's
Back
changed
then,
a
it was
lot over
suspense.
the decades. Um, it has changed a lot. Um, and I like the modern horror movies, just as well as the next guy. But I do actually really like some of those older movies that all the greats, Lon Chaney and Vincent Price and
Yeah,
etc. I mean, you just you can't replicate that, and they were doing it with minimal, everything,
there was
you
no AI or CGI or nothing like that back then.
right. Most every all the effects were practical effects. They were actually doing it in the real world. And they actually did some really marvelous effects. For the day. and doing it practical.
Absolutely. Yeah. So after that, uh, Christopher Lee. We're talking about horror films, and because Christopher Lee was also in the Lord of the Rings, I do believe.
Yes, he was
Or,
Saruman. He was
yeah,
Saruman.
and I don't know who
Um,
that was because I never really
that
watched the
was like
Lord of
the
the
ultimate
Rings.
bad guy in the Lord of the Rings.
Oh,
Um, yeah,
okay.
yeah, he played the bad guy. And here's a funny story. You know, he was in like serious secret agent special forces in World War II, and British, of course. And after that, when he got out, he was a little bit older, and he was playing Saruman on the Lord of the Rings, and he was being instructed on how to react when stabbed in the back, because it was at that scene where Saruman gets stabbed in the back, and
Oh,
he was told to gasp and moan, and well, he looks at the director and says, "Hey, have you ever seen or heard someone who has been stabbed in the back?" Director goes, "Well, no." He says, "Well, I have, and they don't gasp and moan."
no, to go,
Yeah,
motherfucker! What'd you do that for?
right? but because the director realized this man's history, he deferred to him, and they played the scene out exactly as he directed. And you see it now in the Lord of the Rings. Yes, he absolutely did a great job as Saruman.
Well, you know, not only did I mean he played in some iconic films, he was also in Star Wars.
Yes, he was Count Dooku.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and he was one of the like back in the day the original version of Dracula.
Right, right, yeah.
You know, they had a version of Dracula during the silent picture days. I do remember seeing some information on that, and he was like one of the originals when we was talking pictures.
Right, right.
You know, talking pictures. They just come out when I was like a
Yeah,
kid.
the talkies. Yeah,
Yeah, the
yeah,
talkies.
yeah.
That's right. And I remember the Hollywood history on that is they didn't think it would catch on. Uh, you know, making movies that were talkies, and a lot of the, of course, obviously the silent film actors and actresses could not
Mhm.
transition over because they were uh, like uh, body language actors and not verbal
Right,
actors.
right. They were not the right kind of actor to translate into a talking movie. They, and many of them had really heavy, thick accents and stuff like that that would not have worked well on screen.
Yeah,
So but
absolutely. Yeah.
so they just kind of had to kind of go by the wayside, while newer, actual actors
Yeah,
um,
and he lived a long
began.
life too. You know,
Oh yeah, yeah,
1922 to 2015. That's
right,
it's good,
yeah, he is
good lot of years for by anybody's means,
right, right.
judging what a long life is. So I'll let you go with the next one there.
Paul Bettany was born in 1971, a versatile British actor known for voicing Jarvis in the X Men. If anybody's familiar with the X Men, Jarvis was the operating system and personal assistant of Iron Man.
Hmm. I did not know that.
Yeah, his computer system that he it was voice commanded, and could literally do anything, especially in his laboratory. Jarvis ran literally everything. So all he
But
had to do was literally say something, and it was done by Jarvis.
plus, you know, he's
Um,
a young pup, born in '71. That's a young pup.
right, right. And he also played Vision in the Marvel Cinematic Universe as well. Vision is an entirely another different character Some would say a hero, some would say a villain. I would actually say neutral. Truthfully, honestly, in my opinion, that's controversial opinion, I'm sure. You know?
Well, if anybody's going to have a controversial opinion, it's you, Tony.
Yeah, it's generally me. Yeah.
It's generally you. Yeah. But hey, that's what makes the world go around.
Right, right. Well, here's another youngin, Andre 3000, an eccentric gender bending rapper, singer, and co founder of the hip hop duo Outkast.
Gender bending, that right there, you lost me already.
Right, right. Born in 1975.
Man,
So, yeah, another real youngin.
yeah, absolutely. I do remember Outcast, but I didn't realize it was gender or genre. I said gender, didn't I? It's genre bending. Am I
Oh,
crazy?
okay. Yeah, well, genre bending, gender bending, sometimes it's the same thing.
You got a point there. Uh, so yeah, you absolutely have a point when it comes to that. Sorry, Miss Jackson. That's right.
That's one of the famous songs. I
That's
used
right.
to have a friend that was like obsessed with that song, going around singing it. This is a white guy. He's going around singing that song all the time, and could not sing that song. It was horrible. Yeah, made my ears bleed. I had to walk around with paper towels and stuff them in my ears.
Hey, as a Southerner say, bless his heart, he tried.
Well, he most definitely tried. Hey, the next one up on our list is one for us fat guys. Jamie Oliver, renowned British celebrity chef, who revolutionized school lunch nutrition. So
Really?
he's the one. He's the one that, at least in Britain, in England, um, forever changed their school lunches, and some would say for the worst, but others might say for the better.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I can
He,
get
he
that.
well, he got them to use fresh local ingredients rather than a bunch of prepackaged crap, and you know most of your biggest chefs are going to advocate for using fresh local ingredients, always. you know
Back in the day, lunches, you still had the little lunch ladies, the cooks. You didn't have prepackaged stuff. Everything was. I remember I used to wash
Yeah, way
dishes.
back in the day. Yeah, you're right. I mean, they actually did actually cook the food and everything, and somewhere I have a bunch of the actual real recipes from way back then that they used to use, and then some of them would actually surprise you. Yeah.
I enjoyed it, and being the prideful youngin that I was, because we were very poor and we were eligible for the free lunches. I didn't want a free ride. I worked in the cafeteria so that my lunches were paid for by the labor that I did. And one of the things that I did uh, was run that big industrial uh, dishwasher where you slide the whole rack in, it lowers this whole contraption over them. And then, it does its thing for a few minutes and then you raise it and you don't touch your dishes because you're going to burn your hand.
Right.
And, and then we clean the
Push
dishes
them
and
out
then,
and let them cool.
yep, and I did that, and I swept the floors after lunches were over with, and so I paid for my own lunches by my labor as a kid. So I
I
remember
do
all
like
those.
apple pie, Watchman. Mm.
I got to know the lunch ladies really well.
Right, right. I'm sure you did. Um,
Yeah, I'm not fat for nothing, my friend.
I hear you. I hear you, man. Hey, I was on that whole free lunch program myself. But the thing is, I hardly ever used it because I was involved in a lot of different groups and stuff, various different things all throughout school, and a lot of times I would get to lunch, and it was almost over. So we had a snack line, and
Yeah,
the free lunch thing wasn't valid in the snack line. You had to actually pay for it. So
right.
I would just run to the snack line, grab a couple of snacks and something to drink, and sit down real quick, eat that, and go. So I hardly ever used it, but I did use it, and I was qualified for it. You know, um, growing up. So
Yeah, nah, I because obviously washing the dishes and flipping all the chairs upside down on all the tables and sweeping the floor and all that. Obviously, you couldn't do that till lunch was over with. So, those of us who did it, and I wasn't the only one that did it. There were the other ones that did it too. Um, you know, we got out of like 45 minutes of the next class, basically. Which,
right,
let's be honest, you're gonna get out of 45 minutes to an hour of your next class.
most kids would
Hey,
jump on that opportunity.
yeah,
I mean,
and,
even back in our day, you know.
yeah, and when I say this, we were single classrooms all day. Obviously, most just about everybody elementary school was their single classrooms, and then in junior high, um, it was a little different. You got a study hall. When they schedule you, you schedule a study hall afterwards, and so I didn't get out of no classwork. I just missed out on the study
you,
hall.
you miss study hall. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
which I would have just been joking around and probably disturbing everybody in study hall anyways. Because
Right, right.
for some reason I had a mouth on me. I don't know. I don't know when that developed. I think the womb, but I don't know. It just happened. See, yeast. I was reading Watchmen stuff in there. Yeast rolls were pretty good. Yes, yes they were.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
And
Oh yeah. Love me a good yeast roll. Um, Watchmen used to buy free lunch tokens for 50 cents to save money or trade candy or bootleg tapes for free lunch
we
tokens.
never had the
Well,
tokens.
Watchmen now admitting to some
Oh,
some free lunch
oh,
fraud.
Watchman was a hustler in school, huh? Hmm.
Admitted to some free lunch
Times have
fraud.
changed, haven't they, Watchman? No, hustling.
I used to in school. I used to sell candy. That was my hustle. I would re up every morning. Before going to school, and uh, and then everybody knew who to go to when they wanted some candy, which was constant.
Well, I'm not going to tell you what I sold. Off camera, I'll tell you.
Well, we won't talk about the illegal stuff.
Well, no, I'll tell you when we're not live because you're going to get a kick out of it. It's hilarious. Truly, you will. I'm not going to mention it on because it's a sensitive topic. That's all I'm saying. And statute of limitations is up, obviously. So who do we have next? Who
Up next, Jack McBrayer, a comedian best known for his cheerful Emmy-nominated role as Kenneth the Page on 30 Rock.
let's see. I never watched 30 Rock.
I didn't either. I'm absolutely clueless when it comes to that. But he was born in 1973.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I do remember the show, but I never watched it.
Yeah, I didn't either. Like I said, I'm clueless as far as that show goes.
Wasn't it like Alec Baldwin on 30 Rock or something?
I
I mean,
really don't
I'm
know.
just, and I'm
That's how
guessing,
clueless I am. Yeah, I really
right?
don't know.
And I'm guessing on that. I could be wrong. So and maybe Watchmen can, or you probably look it up real quick too. You can look that stuff up on the fly. It would take me too long to type it in. The show would be over with. You
Okay.
know what I mean?
Uno momento. Uh,
The cast of 30 Rock.
Okay, we have on 30 Rock, we have Tina Fey,
Oh yeah.
uh, Tracy Morgan,
Oh heck yeah.
and here Jack McBrayer, Jane Krakowski, Alec Baldwin. You were correct. He played Jack Donaghy.
Yeah, and I don't, Tina Fey. I don't remember her being on the show, but like I said, I don't remember Alec Baldwin because he was always getting in trouble for beating up paparazzi.
Right, she
And
played Liz Lemon.
Liz
Um,
Lemon. Mhm.
Keith Powell, Kevin Brown, and Scott Adsit were uh, the main actors on 30 Rock. There were a lot. I'm actually looking at a very long list of actors that were on that show.
Well known because Alec Baldwin was known for the big screen, not so much series at the time.
Right. Well,
You know,
I'm scanning through here, and you have people like let's see here, um, Will Arnett,
oh,
Chris Parnell.
oh yeah.
Um, you've got Steve Buscemi. Uh,
And who was the other? What was the other SNL actor? The comedian black guy. You mentioned his name.
um,
Oh,
Tracy Morgan was
Tracy
on there.
Morgan. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. You ever see? Because he's got a unique voice in the way he talks. You know what I mean? He's like,
Yeah,
I
Selma
was
Hayek.
over at I was over at Eddie Murphy's. He invited me to a cookout. He made me some beans and franks, and we've been cool ever since. It's like,
Yeah. Well, notably, also apparently, Selma Hayek and Carrie Fisher were also on that show.
yeah, yeah, a lot of SNL people. Not Selma
Jennifer
Hayek, but
Aniston.
Jennifer Aniston was on that show. Really,
Yeah.
man, you think I'd have
Julianne
known?
Moore.
Damn,
Yeah,
a
Rob Reiner.
lot of famous people. Hell yeah, that must have been an expensive cast.
Alan Alda was part of that cast, and
Oh,
Jim Carrey as well.
those who don't know who Alan Alda is, he started MASH.
Hawkeye.
Yep. So for us older folks, we that's the birthdays,
Right.
and so now what is it? Noteworthy events in history. Now here's where my AI really fails me. You know, free AI.
Yeah. Today's noteworthy events in history runs from 1199 to 1994. Um, we have four noteworthy um, events.
Well, I remember 1199 as if it was just yesterday.
Right. I
You know
mean,
how the time flies.
the good old days, right?
The good old days, yeah, yeah. When you could, just eliminate somebody just because.
Right. Yeah. In 1199, the reign of King John, John was crowned King of England following the death of his brother Richard the Lionheart.
Very, very
Famously.
famous. Yep.
Right. His chaotic rule later forced him to sign the Magna Carta. Um, yeah, he was not like the greatest of kings. Um,
Okay, and educate me, and you're gonna think, how do you not know this? And this is a genuine question. Uh, I never did. I never looked it up, but I never did know the Magna Carta. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know what it was or what it was about.
okay, well, The Magna Carta.
I mean, because it's
It's
famous.
well, it's the Magna Carta. The word itself is um, it means the Great Charter. It's a foundational document that King John of England in 1215 had to agree to. It was drafted to prevent royal overreach and heavy taxation. And see, that's why he was not the greatest of kings. You know what I mean? And so he was actually forced to sign the Magna Carta, and kings thereafter have to follow it. It established the principle that everyone, including the sovereign ruler, the king, the sovereign ruler, is subject to the law. Okay. In 1215, by that time, King John was facing a potential civil war. His unsuccessful foreign policies led to lost wars in France, causing him to demand huge taxes from the country's powerful landowners. That, of course, back then they were known as barons. You know, they of course, as usual, they got tired of all the arbitrary arrests and high taxes and a king that thought he was above the law.
Well,
So the
kings were
barons,
above the law, though.
so the barons rebelled. See, that's the thing. You know, the people always outnumber the rulership. So because he was doing all that, the barons, the wealthy landowners and etc., they got together and they built forces and they rebelled and captured London, and they forced the king to negotiate and ended up coming up with the Magna Carta agreement. And it originally contained 63 clauses, most of which addressed the specific grievances of that feudal type system that they had going on. However, a few clauses introduced groundbreaking legal philosophies that changed the world. One was the rule of law. It firmly established that even the king must abide by the law. They established in the Magna Carta due process and fair trial. It guaranteed that free men could not be imprisoned, stripped of their property, or exiled without the lawful judgment of their peers or by the law of the land. Um, and it gave everybody access to justice. It promised that justice would not be sold, denied, or delayed to anyone.
And see, and one would wonder why I did not know the wording, the word, you know, the term Magna Carta. I didn't. All the other stuff, it was maybe I just always heard it as, like what I call legal charter and stuff, boundaries, like what they try to do to Trump all the time. They try to limit the presidency after all these many generations, just because they don't like who's in office. So, but I did not know that they actually did that to a king.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. You would wonder why I don't know this, but I just
Well,
did.
see, the best of the monarchs, throughout history, the best of them, the ones that the people loved, acted as though they were bound by the law anyway. Before the Magna Carta existed, they acted that way anyway. Well,
Yeah,
then you get tyrannical rulers like King John, you know, and and King George, and a few of the others.
right.
You know,
See, back in the day, it was the way I always understood it was the king only answered to the church and no one else.
well,
And
all monarchs at some point or another have to answer to their subjects.
yeah, oh
At
yeah,
some,
yeah, I get that.
they have pretty much total rule. At least they did back then. You know, until the people get tired of it. When the people get tired of it, they rise up, and well, the king don't have quite as much authority anymore. You know, I mean,
Yeah,
they
you
have
know,
to. The
you're,
king, the kings and queens, have to realize that there's such thing as guillotines, and that
yeah,
the people will make use of said guillotines, and they will hold you to account. So they should rule accordingly. You know,
yeah. And Watchman, the king was the head of the Church of England.
right?
But like I
The
said, I
king
always
is
said, but
right,
I just remember in history where they say the king only answered to the church, which means the
right.
Almighty. That's the only person they answered to, the
Well,
Almighty.
the king is they're crowned and christened the defender of the faith, the defender of the Church of England. And that is their job. That's why so many people are unhappy with King Charles these days, because he is Muslim, and
Yeah,
he's supposed to be the defender of the faith of the Church of England.
right. A lot
Which
of people will they'll go back and forth with dispute whether he ever actually come out and said that he was a Muslim king, but it was factual that he did go and during a trip uh, do the thing that the ritual or whatever the ceremony that kind of made him Muslim. I don't know what they exactly did, but they said he did it during a trip. So
yeah, well,
I think we looked that up one night. I think Tony, somebody was
yep,
disputing that.
yeah, we did. But here's the thing: all you have to do is just look at Buckingham Palace and listen if you're there in England. And 5 times a day, the call to prayer rings out from Buckingham Palace. So you just simply have to look and listen to know whether or not the king is a Muslim.
Yeah,
So
right. And not to get like this ain't a political show, but right here in America, we're having this situation where one certain town in America is allowing the call to prayer 5 times a day,
oh,
but
it's not just one.
are trying. Well, I mean, the controversy of this one town is now the local government is also looking at disallowing church bells to be rang on a Sunday.
Right, right. Well, they're anti any other religion. That's the thing with
Right.
the Muslims, is they're anti any other religion. So of course they're going to try their best to ban any other religion, which in the United States is illegal under the First Amendment.
Right, exactly. And so, but they don't follow that. They'll claim that we have to allow them to do what they want under the First Amendment, but
Right.
they don't have to follow it. But that's another show,
Exactly.
which
Um,
you can talk about this tonight at 10 o'clock on Barstool Politics. We'd be more than happy to talk about it.
in
But we'll continue on with the fascinating dates in history.
in 1703, St. Petersburg was founded. The Tsar Peter the Great, I'm sure you've heard of Peter the Great,
Yep, I
officially
have.
founded the city of St. Petersburg, which served as the capital of the Russian Empire for over 2 centuries.
You know
So,
the what fascinates me is uh, all these countries that we supposedly have a problem with today. The rich history, like the Russians. I mean, the rich history that they had. It's amazing that they've become the world's villain today. You know what I mean? It's
right, right.
times change, I guess, but you know, it'd be nice if people would just lay down their arms and start talking to each other again. Yeah,
Yeah, if
but
we could have world peace, that would be a great thing.
I know I'm not trying to be a Miss Universe pageant
Yeah.
continue with the. I want to take care of world hunger and have world peace. And I've got a plan on how to do that. It starts with, and I'm joking, I don't have a plan.
Right. Well, in 1937, the Golden Gate Bridge opened up. San Francisco's iconic suspension bridge, um,
Oh
officially
yeah,
open to pedestrian traffic. Over 200,000 people walked across it on its very first day. That's a
yeah, and
lot of people.
it is a very still today. It's a very picturesque thing to see. Because there's a lot of fog in certain times of the year there, and just some of the iconic photographs of the Golden Gate Bridge. It's unreal.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's a very, very famous bridge. Even people from other countries know about the Golden Gate Bridge. Because they've seen it in movies and television and in books and etc. You know,
Yeah, the Golden Gate Bridge in America is like saying the Eiffel Tower in 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 uh, in Paris. You know what I mean? It's that iconic.
you know, yeah, we just went over that. Like,
What we
a few events ago.
which one?
Magna
Bases of honor.
Carta.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Remember, I'm too. I was ignorant. I never did know what that was, as far as the terminology. So
Um,
I'm,
is
I come into this show every morning to get schooled, my friends.
right,
I need
right.
to further my education at age 60.
Yeah, education.
Education. We be conversating.
But in 1994, the Eagles cheat death, ending a bitter 14-year hiatus. Rock band the Eagles. I personally, I wouldn't consider them rock. You know, um,
Uh, no, today they're considered country.
I mean, I really wouldn't consider them rock, but rock band the Eagles reunited for a live special in California. Because if you recall, they said that that they would not play together until hell froze
Hell
over,
froze over.
and well, they got back together and did that live special in California, and they
Yeah,
named it. They
when
named it, of course,
hell
"Hell Freezes
freezes
Over,"
over.
um, referencing that quote that they would not play together again until hell froze over,
Yeah, at
and
minimum, I would have called them soft rock. But the this is what happens when you have so many talented people with so many. I mean, they all wrote songs. They're all good musicians. They could all sing. They all had their ideas of who songs that was going to make the albums or
yeah,
whatever.
each and every one of them were legends and greats in their own right, by themselves, and then you put them together and create this super group called the Eagles.
Yeah.
And you know, just about every song they ever wrote was legendary. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. It's and the mixture of the different like all the guitarists on in the group. I mean, they really had their own unique style. You could almost tell, you knew without even seeing them on screen or whatever, just by their portion of the song, you almost knew who was playing the guitar for whatever little portion of the song that they were doing.
Right.
They were just that well known for their own styles. Like Joe Walsh. I mean, come on, you know what I mean? He, and then of course the drummer. He's probably was the most boisterous one. If I'd have to say if anybody was the loud mouth of the band was the drummer. So but
Right.
hey, I enjoyed it. I was glad to see him get back together.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Most everybody was. As I mean, so much iconic music came from that band. That people were like, what? No more. epic music from the Eagles. What?
Yeah, and Watchman is he's uh, telling the truth there. Uh, they set the tone on the super high ticket prices for
Yeah,
these bands that came back and did like these reunion tours and stuff like that. They would come out of retirement or whatever, and then you're paying, you know,
a
$500,
hundred fifty, two
two
hundred. You know.
thousand dollars for a ticket.
Oh
It
yeah.
got ridiculous.
Oh yeah. With some of these artists these days, you got to take out a loan. I mean, go to the
Yeah,
bank and take out a loan to afford tickets for yourself and a girlfriend or wife or whatever. I mean, it's
yeah,
crazy. It's
it's
crazy these
right.
days.
The wife and the girlfriend.
Right.
I'm just saying.
So we do have some more kind of weird and strange, maybe a little bit funny events that occurred. Um, in 1977, banned by the state, the Sex Pistols released their controversial punk rock single called "God Save the Queen." That song is extremely famous. But they released it during the week of Queen Elizabeth II's Silver Jubilee. The track was immediately, of course, banned by major retailers and entirely scrubbed from the BBC television and radio broadcasts. Because of the irreverence of the song.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I wasn't really into that kind of music, but was it? Help me out. Who was the lead singer?
Johnny Rotten.
There you go. It was known for his uh, rudeness and vulgarities and just being a downright dirty butt.
But yeah, the Sex Pistols were well known for their irreverent takes on things, and they released "God Save the Queen," and kids around the world latched onto that song, because it resonated. The irreverence and the rebellion of the song uh, resonated with kids all around the world at that time. Remember, this is the mid '70s when this song came out.
Yeah,
Mid to late '70s, and there was a whole lot of so-called teen angst going on in that time.
yeah,
So,
yeah, absolutely. And like Watchman's got listed in here. It was Metallica and Pantera. Seat floors were going for $6,000.
in the nosebleed section.
It was 600. Was yeah, 6,000 on the floor and 600 in the nosebleed section. And I tell you, when I was going to concerts, I was right there at the end of all of the cheap goings of concert going because I remember seeing Metallica with Limp Bizkit, Mudvayne, and Linkin Park, all for the whopping price of $85.
Well, I can remember, when the most you would pay for a ticket, and this is for like really big ticket groups and stuff, was like $50 a ticket.
Yeah, I was
Okay,
gonna say.
and back then we were complaining that that was super expensive. I would
Yeah,
never pay more than this for a damn ticket. And now people are paying 6,000, and yeah, I mean,
right. Well, with the Ticketmaster, it's kind of like the beginning of why ticket prices started going up because you were paying a middleman,
right,
and
right.
so they had their little piece of the pie basically.
Oh yeah, everybody gets a cut. But I mean, back in the day, though, I used to know a lot of people in the industry. I would get um backstage, all access passes and things like that, to a lot of the bands. But I did have to actually pay, general admission and whatnot, for a number of acts that I went to see.
Yeah, yeah.
Metallica was one of them, by the way, and Ozzy was another. You know,
Now I never did pay for any like backstage passes or anything like that, but I tell you what I did.
no, I didn't say I paid for the backstage passes.
Well, I
I
mean,
knew
is
I knew people in the industry, so they would get me
yeah, but
backstage passes.
the rest of us, the rest of us peons would have to pay for it. But what I
So
was going to say is what I did do is when a well-known group or whatever was coming to town, especially the older groups, if you wanted to go watch them, like I give a good example, uh, Meatloaf. Uh, they had a package. You go and you pay for because a hotel. You come with the hotel, travel to and from the concert. Back entrance, entry into the concert, and that's when I actually got to uh, talk to Meatloaf and them because we had to walk right by their tour bus and stuff like
right, right.
that. But as far as being up backstage while they're playing, I've never experienced anything like that. Now I would be up in the first one, two, three, or four rows, either main floor seating or standing room only, those kind of things.
Yeah, I
So
had a thing that I used to do back in the day when I was going to concerts and stuff. I would carry a pocket full of my personal guitar picks that I had previously, before even going, I had signed my signature on the guitar picks. And what I would do is I would manufacture a run in with the guitar player, or I would do it while he was on stage. I'd get his attention, and I would hold out a guitar pick, and 9 times out of 10, they want to schmooze with the crowd and whatnot. He'll reach out and take that pick, and they generally will look at it, to see if it's the proper pick for them to use and whatnot, and they'll generally look at it, and they'll see the signature, and I tell them, hey, keep that; it'll be worth money someday. You know, I'm saying this to a famous guitar player. It usually gets their attention, and et cetera, and they'll give an autograph, or something of that nature. Um, or sometimes there were times when I was actually didn't have a pass and was allowed backstage because I did that. It got their attention. They're like, "Hey, let that guy back."
yeah, and I remember, and this is not my story; it's my daughter's story. But we were at the same concert together. Uh, Hinder had just gotten done playing, and Stained was playing, and you know how you get lifted up and bounced around the crowd, right? You know, and
Crowd
they,
surfing.
yeah, crowd surfing. So they bounced her around. Well, she was wearing flip flops, so she got bounced around so much that her flip flops
You
got kicked
lost
off
your
her
flip
feet.
flops.
Well, they set her down on the other side of that partition between you and the security people and the actual up on stage kind of thing. It's like two layers of security.
Hmm.
Well, she had before the concert. Hinder was doing the little CD signing. They would stand in line and sign autograph the CD. Well, she actually got in a good conversation with him when she was doing that, and when she got escorted around to get back into the crowd, they recognized her and had her come back, and so she got to like hang out with Hinder while Stain and them were playing, back with their girlfriends and wives or whatever. So I remember her calling me on the cell phone. Hey, Daddy, guess where I'm at? I said, I don't know where you're at. I'm partying with Hinder. I said, okay, that's pretty cool. She said you had to come over. I said, I ain't look. I was already somewhere else, way far away from where she was at. I said I would not be able to get back here in time to get to you, especially get through the crowd. So enjoy yourself. So that was like a big thing for her, you know. being able to party with Hinder now. So
Right, right.
good times.
Yeah, way back in the day, you could do a lot of stuff, and things that you couldn't possibly do today.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Uh,
The world has gone
heck,
crazy today. So yeah,
absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, I've had a lot of really awesome experiences in my lifetime. And I've had some really crappy experiences as well.
yeah.
But let's jump to holidays celebrated on this day. The first is World Otter Day, mm, a global wildlife awareness celebration honoring the semi-aquatic mammal famously known for holding hands while floating so they don't drift apart. And they're also known for cracking open like clams and etc. on their bellies while floating on their backs. They take a rock and bash the thing. You know, they're one of the few animals in the wild that use tools. They know how to get what they want.
Smart, smart, smart.
Right, right. Extremely intelligent critters. Um, eh, so we have World Otter Day, and also today is Nothing to Fear Day.
I don't really see well that will ever go over well because
Well, it's a quirky psychological holiday that explicitly encourages people to confront one low stakes, minor fear like uh, something like handling a harmless spider or trying a strange food. They don't want you to try to confront your major phobias, because that's something that's really difficult to do. But if you
yeah,
have like a minor low stakes fear that, you know, maybe something particular creeps you out, or you don't like a particular type of food, or maybe you're scared of trying a particular type of food, jump on it, just go for the gusto and try that food, or deal with that spider, in the corner of your room. As long as it's not like a black widow or some
oh
really poisonous, yeah,
yeah,
I
or
mean,
or or handling like a king viper or something.
right, right, yeah, no, don't go out trying to do any of that deadly stuff or anything like that, but yeah, if you got a kind of low hanging fruit type fear, go for it. Go for it on Nothing to Fear Day. Um, Today is also National Cellophane Tape Day.
Man,
It's a highly practical daily celebration honoring Richard Drew's 1930 invention of transparent tape. So they actually made a national day out of it.
well, that's a trip. I I think not necessarily in my shop, but around the house. I think we are always have a roll of transparent tape laying around, and like
Everybody
box
does.
tape and stuff like that. Yeah,
Yeah, everybody does. It's a incredibly useful invention now, and I think people from the very get go, from way back in 1930, saw the extreme usefulness of a transparent sticky tape, and it became a regular staple that you keep. Every household has at least one roll. Every office has at least one roll. I mean, and as you just said, even garages and mechanic shops had rolls of transparent tape.
yeah, and
Famously
before
Scotch tape.
and it was like a cheaper version of like if you had a something on a piece of paper that you didn't want to get smeared or destroyed by like water or something. That would
Yeah,
be, the original version of what is that stuff?
lamination.
Lamination, yes.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I've actually done that. I've taken tape and stretched it out over a piece of paper to protect what was on it from getting messed up. I have done that on more than one occasion. So
yeah, and of course, well, even as musicians, they'll take their song set to the floor,
yeah,
the
some
stage,
actually will tape their song list to their instrument, and
on the backside.
they of course use Scotch tape, transparent tape, whatever you want to call it.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it definitely has its uses. It
Oh
definitely has
yeah,
its
I mean it's
uses.
an incredibly useful invention.
So
Um,
I'm gonna have to say that's a more important national day of than National Day of Nothing to Fear.
yeah, I would say so myself. Although it is important to face your fears, and try to get past them. I would say that an invention like transparent tape, being as useful as it actually is, would be way more important than facing your fears.
Yeah,
And Watchman asks, who are these people coming up with these off the wall holidays? Well,
God
Watchman,
only knows.
Watchman, it's not hard to get a politician somewhere to push for the proclamation of something, anything, just about it, as a holiday. And many, many holidays, these really wild, off the wall, crazy holidays, many of them are declared without the general public even knowing, because all it takes to declare an actual national holiday is for for a bill to be presented, voted on, passed, and then signed, and they don't, most of them don't even get announced. But if you check, you know you'll find that there are literally, for each and every day of the year, there are literally like 100 nationally recognized holidays for
Oh,
each day.
I mean, every day we
um,
do this. There's
yeah,
two, three,
when we
four.
do this, here on the show, we're picking out just a few of,
Yeah.
what is, a huge list of holidays. I
I,
used to have an actual calendar. It was rather large, that denoted all of the holidays for every single day of the year, and it was mind-boggling.
you know, I, I,
know?
I was thinking of something of the Nothing to Fear Day. I, a good thing for me was to get over my fear of divorce lawyers.
I hear you. I hear you. Yeah, yeah. I hear you. Absolutely. I
So
am watching this says, there's somebody out there that has a fear of clear tape that's freaking out reading this.
there, you know what's sad? There probably
It
is.
probably is. I agree with that one. I agree with that one. Absolutely.
Yep.
But up next is one that, as kids, I am sure we would all like this holiday, way back in the day. National Grape Popsicle Day,
There you
a
go.
celebration of the frozen treat, which was accidentally invented in 1905 when an 11-year-old child left a cup of soda water with a stirring stick sticking out of it on a freezing San Francisco porch overnight.
There you go.
So,
I always enjoy the national, whatever it may be, of any kind of a food or dessert. Like we were
oh,
just talking about the cheesecake,
right,
different
right.
flavors of
Anything
cheesecake.
regarding food, us fat guys are all into it.
Yeah.
But did you ever, as a kid, do that little thing that where you take the grape Kool-Aid and pour it into an ice tray, put
Ice tray.
cellophane over it, You put
Yep,
cellophane over it and stick toothpicks into it, so that now you got a little bitty popsicle.
sure
I did
did.
that. I did
Yep,
that.
we sure did. Well, we couldn't afford, to buy store-bought stuff like that so often. So that's my mom. Of course, she grew up poor down in the mountains of Kentucky,
Right,
and
right.
so we did all these little things, And today we were, you think back, well, it's because we were poor, but when we were kids, we thought it was fun to do. You know what I mean?
Well, I was raised by my grandmother, and she came up during the Depression and all that, but
Absolutely.
she made sure that I had, for the most part, she made sure that I had things like popsicles and ice cream and things like that, and because that was something that she didn't have as a kid, so she made sure that I had it. But when we would run out, it would be middle of the summer, and we'd run out of ice cream and popsicles and whatnot, and 'cause she had a special freezer for that. And when we would run out, well, then I would be wanting some kind of cold treat during the hot day, and well, break out the ice tray and some cellophane and toothpicks,
It's funny
and
you mentioned special freezer. I was, I that brought back a memory, Tony. We never had deep freeze or nothing like that at our house, but I remember one of my my grandmother's in-laws, because my grandmother was married like four different times, but
right, right,
we would go over there and they had a deep freeze. The first time I ever saw a deep freeze, and they kept these, you know, big containers of ice cream of all different flavors just for all the kids when they'd come and visit. And
yeah.
I remember getting a kick out of that.
Yeah, my grandparents, they had an upright deep freezer.
Oh yeah, yeah,
It was nothing but a freezer, but it was upright and it opened
yep.
like a regular refrigerator. And in part of it, they kept like meat and whatnot, but in the rest of it was popsicles, ice cream, things like that. For kids, for me and all my cousins and whatnot. Hey,
Oh yeah. And it's amazing when you, as adults, you think back. You remember how much fun that was to do this, have these kind of little traditions like making the Kool-Aid popsicles and stuff like that, and
yeah, and
not realizing it was just because poor. You know what I
right,
mean?
right. And we used to. Here's the thing: we didn't used to buy ice cream. I would sit on the back porch and help my granddaddy make ice cream.
See,
You know,
I was raised
whatever
here in
flavor we
town.
wanted.
Yeah, I know people did that as I got older, not as a little kid. Um, but I was thinking, see, you were saying that, and then, oh, yeah, back in the day when we were growing up, the only time we had ice cream in the house is for birthdays and stuff. We never had it on a regular basis. It was like a super rare treat, and I don't know why, because it's not that my mom is like some kind of a health nut as far as children shouldn't eat sugary products or whatever, but it was just something she just, we don't need to spend the money on this. And, but
Was not a necessity.
you know what? Here, you want to talk about being a fat guy? Here, let me tell you. Um, I never was into birthday cakes. I didn't really like cake that much, right? Believe it or not. And so we had a tradition in my house growing up. My mom would say, "Well, when she'd say, 'What kind of cake you want?' I would never say cake. I'd say I'd rather have a pizza." So I would have
Well,
birthday
you
pizza.
wanted a pie for your birthday.
Yeah. So I would have pizza for my birthdays instead of cake. Well, up at a certain age, when you're a little kid, you get whatever your moms can get you.
Well, there came a time. There was a period of time, and I wish it had never gone away. When you could have had a pizza cake for your birthday. It was called the Pizza Hut's Priazzo. I don't know if you remember that,
I,
but it was
oh
basically
yes, yes.
Yeah, it was basically a pizza cake, and I
That's
mean, you could literally slice that up just like a cake, and scoop it out and put it on your plate. I
yeah.
used to love that thing. I would make special trips to Pizza Hut just to have the Priazzo.
Yes,
And then
indeed.
they discontinued it, and now you know how hard it is to even find any historical references, even by Pizza Hut of the Priazzo.
Well, I guess you have to be as old as we are and remember it because we were there. It is kind of why and people say, well, if you had pizza, where'd the candles go? My
Anywhere you
mom,
want.
no, cupcakes
Well, no, I
for
mean, if
those like if we had a little birthday party, whatever. There's those kids who still want you know to eat cake, and so we
well,
had cupcakes, not a big large cake.
right, I'm sure, but you grew up the way I did. When I did get cakes, they didn't have like a whole crap ton of candles on it. They had the number candles. They literally had the number of whatever birthday that was. You
Right.
know,
And of
yeah,
course, back during those days, you wouldn't have filled up an entire top of layer of a cake because you're so old. You had the individual candy. It wasn't like covering up a whole bunch of stuff anyway. But yeah, the that was a good thing when they started coming out with those. I'm sure they were always out, but I didn't really remember seeing them till later. Up in the teenage years, the individual numbers candles, and they stood on their own. You,
right.
you,
They're these big thick things that kind of had a foot on the bottom of them.
yeah,
You know, where when you stuck it in the icing, it had some support. It didn't just like fall over and whatnot. And
Watchman
uh,
doesn't know what a
the
piazza.
Priazzo is what it was called. It was you had your base crust. It was like a pan pizza sort
I
of.
was going to say it's like a pan
You know,
pizza.
it was actually cooked in the same pans as your Pizza Hut pan pizza was. Um, but they came all the way to the top of the pan
Yep.
with your base crust. And you had all your sauce and your toppings and cheese and everything all inside there. Then they would put another crust over the top of that, and then they would put toppings and cheese and sauce on that, and they would run that through the oven. And you understand that if you've ever worked for Pizza Hut, which I have. uh, but I've also worked for Domino's and Papa John's. All of them use the same oven.
See,
You run
yeah,
it in one end and it comes out the other end fully cooked. And but the Priazzo was like a pizza cake. You could literally slice it and it would hold that shape. You could put it on your plate just like a slice of cake.
it was
And but it was pizza.
a pizza pie.
And it
but
was it
those
was
were they were square sheets. Even some of the pan pizzas, they were still round, but I mean, I remember them being the square pan uh, uh, pizzas that, if I'm not mistaken, because I've told you before, we never knew what a restaurant purchased pizza was, like Pizza Hut or Domino's or something like that, till like I was in my teens.
right,
So it
right,
was like
right,
a very special occasion. That's why I think that's why I always enjoyed
right,
pizza birthdays.
right, right. Yeah, the Priazzo, by the way, it was spelled Priazzo. Priazzo. The two Z's together are pronounced
Watchman,
like
I
the
am
two Z.
shocked. I am shocked you did not know something. Because Watchman is a very good researcher and has a very keen memory. And so I'm shocked that something slipped by you, my man. What's going on with that? You doing all right? Do we need to do a wellness check? Oh man, that's I tell you, I don't know. I'm sure we are a few states apart, but you probably couldn't hear it in the background, but it's been thundering and lightning like crazy during this show this morning. It's 100% chance of rain all day.
Right, right.
Yeah, so you know it's, it sucks. Although I do like rain, but I don't like this heavy, constant rain. Because what comes with that? Flooding, and so we'll
Yeah,
have to deal with that today.
we talked about Christopher Lee earlier.
Hmm.
I just thought about this. As if as if being Saruman on Lord of the Rings and being a real life secret agent that turned into a cinematic icon, as if that wasn't enough. In his twilight years, in his later life, um, he was pursuing something really, really different, and way off from anything he had previously done. Symphonic heavy metal music. He actually released at the age of 88. He actually released a symphonic heavy metal album. Um, Trying to remember the name of it.
That's like when Pat Boone released uh, it was heavy metal slash punk rock album. You know who Pat Boone was, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it was kind of odd to see him come out with an album later in life with something like that. It was unreal. But that's I'd be kind of curious to see what that sounds like.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the name of that album.
Too bad we couldn't play something from it, but we don't want to get a copyright strike.
Right, right. Guaranteed we would end up with a copyright
Yeah,
strike for that.
absolutely.
I'm trying to remember the name of that. Let's see. It had something to do with Charlemagne. Because um, on his mother's side, he was directly descendant from Emperor Charlemagne. Um, by the by, by the sword and the cross, I think it was. I think it was called By the Sword and the Cross. Um, but yeah, on his mother's side, he was directly descendant from Emperor Charlemagne. So
Not to be confused with the band Charlemagne.
he also at 91 released a heavy metal holiday single called Jingle Hell.
For real?
Yeah, for real. And it made number 22 on the Billboard Hot 100.
See, that's one of these things that you go, I can't believe this. It makes it's completely out of character.
It is actually crazy. Seeing Christopher Lee and all the different things that he's done and whatnot. And then think, at such an old age, 88 and 91, he's releasing these heavy metal albums. You know, I
Hey,
mean,
that just goes to show you, um, when you get up every day, keep moving forward. If you have an interest in doing something, and like me, even though I'm being procrastinated about it lately, I'm gonna try to learn to play guitar at age 60. So you keep moving forward, and you keep trying to do things because if you ain't experiencing new things or learning new things every day, well then you're shorting yourself a fulfilling life.
right, right, yeah. In my short little time here on this planet Earth, I've lived a full life. Whether that was the greatest life in the world, is yet to be remain to be seen. But I mean, I have literally been able to I've literally been able to, see and do many things that most people don't get to see and do. And I've been to places that most people don't get the chance to actually go to, and but by that same token, just flip that coin over, and I've also, had the unfortunate opportunities, unfortunate reality of seeing and doing and experiencing and going to places no human should ever see or do or go, etc. And
Yeah, yeah, I know what you're saying there, and that's the shame that you had to deal with stuff like that. But it makes you the person that you. That's what I was just saying. Was it yesterday? Uh, all the experiences, good or bad, that I've had in life, it made me the person I am today.
right, I
So,
wouldn't trade. I wouldn't trade any of those experiences that I had for the world. And if I was to die tomorrow, I would have to say I lived a very full life. Even in what I consider to be, my niece tells me that I'm ancient, but
remember
in
when we
my
used to think 30 was ancient?
right, in what I consider to be in my short time on this earth, I believe that I have lived a very full life, good and bad. It made me who I am. So I wouldn't trade it for the world. I mean, sometimes, of course, everybody does. I wish, I could go back knowing what I know now,
Oh yeah,
and
hindsight's
and
2020, but you just
right, and maybe change a few things. But then, even the slightest minor little thing that you might change could entirely change who you are, and etc. So I don't know necessarily that I would want to be a different person um, than who I am now, um, by going back and changing even the slightest minor little thing.
I tell you what, and I wouldn't even call it a regret. When it comes to like jobs or careers, whatever you want to call it, I would have liked to went back and been a little bit more of a risk taker instead of just settling for the guaranteed paycheck with the guaranteed benefits and stuff like that because they're raising a family. Maybe if I started out in life a little bit different, uh, I probably would have been a bigger risk taker when it come to what am I going to do for a living. You know what I mean? So but that's such a small thing because I raised four girls. They've got I've got grandkids. I've got great grandchildren.
Right.
So
Well,
it was a fair trade off.
right, exactly. But here, you think about this. Being in my life, um, I didn't, as a younger person, I didn't believe that I was going to live past 25.
I'm right
I,
there with
I
you.
thoroughly, I thoroughly 100% believed that I would pass. I would die before my 25th birthday. So I lived by the creed, live fast, die young, and leave a good looking corpse. And you know, when I hit 25, I had no plans beyond 25 because I thoroughly 100% believed that I would not live past 25. I had no plans, and here I am all of a sudden. Okay, so what do I do now? You know, uh,
See, I was the same way, but for different reasons. Um, Not so much by what I was doing, but the environment I was in. You know what I mean? Because when you're young, you think this is your world. You don't. That I wasn't wise enough to look outside my own neighborhood. You know what I mean? My own corner of
right,
the
right,
world to know that there was something different than where I was living and how I was raised. And so when we say that, when I said live beyond the age of 30 or 35, it's not because of me doing ridiculously stupid stuff. Although a lot of people would call drag racing and round track racing stupid and dangerous, but nothing like the environment I grew up in was far more dangerous than anything that I'd ever done as a hobby. You know what I mean? So,
Right,
but
right.
yeah, but hey, we're still here.
Right, right. That we have survived, and that's
Yeah.
and for people in of our generation, that is absolutely a fact. We survived, you know.
Yes.
I countless of my friends from back in the day have not survived. They are long since passed. They're
Yep.
either most of them are either dead or in prison.
I was getting ready to say the same exact thing.
I
That's it,
mean,
and that's the environment we grew up in. And, you know what I mean? Because it's exactly the same thing. They're either locked up for life or close to it, or they're no longer with us. I have very few friends uh, that are still with me as far as even knowing them. Period. Let alone them still being with us at all
right,
in one way or another. So I actually I don't rely on my childhood friends because there wasn't that many that are left. I rely on the friends that I meet today. I made good relationships over the last few years that, to me, they're just as strong as a relationship as if it was a childhood friend. You know what I'm saying?
right,
So, there's still, you just gotta find people that are, you enjoy talking with and hanging around, because there's a lot of the people I grew up with that I enjoyed hanging around with back then. I know I would not hang around them today
right,
because I moved beyond them, if you know what I mean.
right, right. Well, that does happen. You do sometimes move, as you say, beyond those relationships that you had in your younger years.
Yeah, or another word term or whatever is I outgrew them.
Right, right.
They were still stuck in their own little, as I say, the corner of their world. To where, as I got older, I expanded mine. You know what I mean? And a lot of it had to do with the career I chose. I was able to, get to know people across the country. Uh, and now doing this podcasting around the world. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
So it's a fascinating life we lead sometimes.
Oh yeah, yeah, and I still remain fascinated about this business of podcasting. How we can be sitting here at our homes and filming this live, streaming it out, and people literally anywhere in the world, and have them in real time talking to us,
Yeah.
etc.
You know,
I mean,
this is why I like Tony doing these late night podcasts, because then you're getting an opportunity to interact with people. It's nighttime for us, but it's in the middle of their day.
right, right.
And
That's kind of in a way, that's kind of the cool part of it, is
yes,
the fact that with the time differences, you know it could be here, it could be in the middle of the day, and it be at the middle of the night somewhere else, or it could be, as is the case like with Australia.
yeah,
It could be the next day already
right.
where
And
they're at. You
as
know,
our friend Ronan says, I live in the future, man.
right, right. I mean, at least when it's compared to us, he lives in the future.
Yeah, and like when we do the late night stuff, it's like noon, 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon there, and it'd be like 3:30 in the morning or something here or something like that. It's just got, I can't remember the exact hours differences, but it's somewhere like that. It's somewhere close to that. Afternoon there, wee hours of the morning here.
Right,
But
right.
I enjoy that. You know what I mean? Uh, but boy, that was a big old crackling thunder I just heard. Um, So if you heard it, that was not a fart. That was a thunder in the background. Just
Yeah, it's a likely story.
so yeah, well, this has been a good morning. It's been a good show this morning. I enjoyed this. Watchman, as
Absolutely.
always. Watchman is a very act. Watchman, you must be a super fast typer, my friend, because you can whip that stuff out there in the chat room like hardly anybody else I've ever seen. So
Right?
a lot of other people do the copy and paste crap. You do not. But so I guess before we get out of here, we didn't do this yesterday. For those who watch this show and don't know us from our other show, Tony, would you do a shout out for your program?
Okay, well, I am the creator and host of a video podcast called Big Tony Speaks. It is live Monday through Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Rumble, YouTube, and many other platforms. Um, y'all do me a favor and go to those platforms. Rumble, YouTube, etc., Facebook, and put in the search bar Big Tony Speaks, and give me a follow, show me some love, and turn on those notifications so you know when I'm going to be on. And now just remember, Big Tony will speak on it.
Yeah, and for that, especially you YouTube people, if you're not getting notifications and you've got that icon turned on, the bell, unsubscribe and resubscribe, because a lot of times there's a glitch in YouTube. It resets it, and and it just depends. Like if you haven't been tuning in for like a period of time for a little while or whatever, then kind of like it puts it in like dormant pattern
Yeah,
or
a lot
something.
of a lot of creators are finding that a lot of their followers are actually being removed from the subscriber and follow lists on various different platforms.
Yep,
Sometimes it's because of inactivity. You
inactivity. That's
know,
right. That
so
is
if
true.
you're, yeah, keep up with your subscriptions or follows to various different creators on various different platforms. Uh,
Like, yeah,
Yeah, he said, "Get over here to Rumble, YouTube peeps." And hey, I agree.
I do too.
Because YouTube is changing very very fast, and they're doing a lot of stuff that is not so cool. You know what I mean? I'm not going to get into that right now, but they are doing a whole lot of stuff that is not so cool. A lot of your bigger creators are starting to migrate over to Rumble and other platforms, not just
Yep.
Rumble, but they're moving away from YouTube. Right now though, YouTube is still the biggest video platform on the internet. So, they kind of, are hesitant to completely 100% leave YouTube, but they're migrating off to other platforms because of what YouTube is doing. And
Yeah, because
and
as a content creator and a podcaster, I'm a victim of the YouTube uh, rules and
right,
rules and unforeseen or unspoken rules that you think, why did it get removed or whatever, or the things that I've been going through. So
right,
and I just hope more people learn to migrate to Rumble. I really do. And when it
right.
comes
Yeah,
to
more.
podcasting, if anything else, like me, I have a car channel. So if you still like the car stuff, there's nothing wrong with YouTube, I guess. But when it comes to speaking of daily events, hell, who knows? They could find a problem with anything we talked about this morning. Who knows? You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
right, right. Yeah, Watchman has a point. Face your fear day. Leave YouTube for Rumble today. Absolutely. I hear you, Watchman.
Yeah,
Hey,
that
I I actually did I actually did pretty much completely abandon YouTube and moved over to Rumble. Um, I had a channel going on YouTube, and well, YouTube just finally, it was a straw that broke the camel's back. It pissed me off enough that I took all my content off of my channel and I migrated over to Rumble, and started a channel on Rumble, and I started actually using the YouTube channel. Just simply what I would do, I put a banner up over on YouTube that advertised my Rumble channel. so that the only reason that channel was there was for that banner, and in the description, if anybody clicked on it and read the description, it was nothing but an ad for my channel on Rumble. So
Yeah,
but and then I finally, a little bit later on, I decided that it was kind of a waste to have that channel sitting there dormant, doing nothing. So I started simulcasting to YouTube and a lot of other platforms as well. So
yeah, yeah. You got to diversify.
right, right, yeah, you have to just
Yeah,
diversify, so that more
yeah,
people can see your shining face. You
yeah.
know,
Saying that, with hopefully with the weather cooperates tomorrow. I'm going to be starting working on a videoing some car content stuff out of my garage with my grandson and them, because a lot of people know the story. I told my grandson if he took this El Camino I had and all the parts that I purchased for it, and he does all the work and puts it all together, I'm going to give it to him. So
right, right, right. Yeah.
we're actually,
Honesty is free speech as well. I am always in support of new tech. A new company comes out and they say they're going to support free speech, and etc. I am on it. I am always in support of new tech,
see,
100%.
I'm always the last of the party when it comes to these other platforms. You know what I mean? It's like I think Watchman mentioned Odyssey the other day on one of our other live streams.
Yeah,
And
you have to keep your fingers on the pulse of the internet always. You're a creator now.
shoot,
So,
I have to keep checking my own pulse, Tony. Come on,
right,
man.
right, right. You got to make sure you're still living.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Be like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, I go
Yeah,
to
I'm
the
here.
I go to the doctor's office regularly, and they always want to do the vitals very first thing. So when they do, they get that little machine started and everything. I immediately asked the nurse. I said, "Well, am I still alive? Or does it say that I'm dead?" He said,
Well, we thought you was, but the batteries was low, so we had to change the batteries out.
right, right.
Anyways, got to roll up out of here. Me personally, my stuff, you can find me for now on YouTube, Rumble. I got kicked off Twitch, so I'm no longer on Twitch. Whatever. You can X, Facebook, but I have various shows. There are various times. You just check my catalog of videos, and you'll see that I have shows Monday and Tuesday at 7. I have a show at 6 on Wednesdays, a show at 10 o'clock at night on Wednesday nights. Join that one
Mhm.
if you're going to join anything at all. And then I usually save my interviews with people on Thursdays and Fridays. It's kind of like up in the air. I usually do late night Friday stuff between 10 and midnight, and Saturday night. 3 o'clock on Saturdays we do Veterans Affair. Me and my man Larry, we dedicate an hour and a half, 2 hours to Veterans Affairs every Saturday. And then we usually do a Saturday night BS session after we're on with Killer Carl at 8 o'clock on Saturday nights. And then every Sunday, it's Haitian Invasion, Springfield, Ohio. And it ain't all just about Haitians, but I use that title so you know who we are and where we are.
Right, right.
And
Well, it's that Haitian invasion that actually uh, brought you up out of the miry masses, into a little bit of notoriety now, like, because you went viral due to the Haitian invasion, due to a video you just happened to record and post it to YouTube.
yeah, it's funny. the notoriety, what little bit of notoriety I have. Um, so doctor, we left the show yesterday, and I went to my doctor's appointment yesterday, right? And so I'm talking to my nurse practitioner, and she hands me this business card and says, "You got to do me a favor." I said, "Wait." She said, "You take it with a grain of salt. You do whatever with it, but would you please call this gentleman? He wants to meet you so bad." We were talking because she had a run-in with some Haitians at a local Walmart, and she was
Oh,
still mad
wow.
about it. Yeah, she was still mad about it, right? So
Yeah,
her
yeah.
and this other gentleman, another patient, was talking about it, and he mentioned to her about he follows this guy that talks about the Haitian issue in Springfield all the time on his podcast, and she said my name to him. She said, "Yeah," and I guess he said to her, "Well, how do you know him?" He said, "Well, he's a patient of mine." And I guess he got all giddy like a like a school
you,
just like
you got a
fan.
hardcore fan.
Yeah, so I, he gave her a business card. His business is model trains,
That's cool.
hobby, like a hobby deal, hobby shop kind of thing. And so uh, he made her promise him that she would give me that card and to have him contact me so that he could meet me. Not though
Yeah, yeah.
that's pretty cool. That's fascinating. And I like meet and greets. We do this from time to time here. We've had people come as far as from Michigan to come down to meet me, and
Yeah,
Diana from Sunday Show.
yeah. I
And
spent a
so
little time in Michigan. Yeah.
yeah, I have
Um,
too. Yeah,
and speaking of trains, when I was in Michigan, I knew this guy that literally in his basement, he had model trains everywhere in his basement. He spent more every month on model trains than he spent on the mortgage for his house.
watching that's an idea. I may once I'm gonna call the gentleman today because I told her I told uh,
Right, right.
my nurse
Yeah, yeah.
practitioner that I would, and I will, and I would have anyway, because that's they went through that much effort to try to. Although he could have gotten a chat room and asked, he didn't have to.
Right. Right.
But
Well, I mean, maybe he's shy, uh,
yeah, maybe he could be. So,
you
anyways, I'm
know,
gonna do that today. I'll let you know how that goes.
you
Well,
never know. He might be one of your lurkers that doesn't talk in the chat and just watches without saying anything. You
it
know.
could be. He could be shy. Period. Yeah. But anyways, I'll contact him and we'll take it from there. Yeah,
Right.
Watchman.
Right.
I like model trains too. I like big trains. I've actually been on a few restored classic the train rides through scenic areas of like Athens, Ohio, and stuff like that. Um,
Right. Right. Up in Macon, that's a little bit of ways from here, but up in Macon, they have a restored steam locomotive that they still run it, and it's like a tourist thing.
yeah,
You can ride on the historic steam locomotive, and it's actually pretty cool little tour that you go on when they carry around a lot of notable locations and etc. And the tour guide, so to speak, the conductor, will tell you all about these various different locations and tell you all
yeah.
about the locomotive that you're riding on, etc. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, they actually the one train ride I was just talking about, they've restored them. They don't have the steam ones left anymore, but the ones from the late 30s, early 40s, that were all just passenger transit type deal. And but they stop off at one of the like a little reenactment town, I guess, but it was real log cabins, but they were all like trading posts and you know all kinds of things that you they stop the train and you get out and you spend a couple hours there doing a little tourism thing going on and then you get back on it.
Right.
and but it was down around the part of Ohio where they had all the made bricks, and they had all the kiln ovens, and a lot of them are still standing, and that's part of the tour when you ride the train.
Yeah,
And I love the feel of the train back and back and forth going cha-ching, cha-ching.
right. Yeah. In Macon, there is still an active brick foundry.
Oh, cool.
It's still actually making bricks. I, I used to know some people that actually worked there. And let me tell you, talk about dark leathery skin. I mean, these are both white and black folk that were working there that I knew, and they're all every single one of them. Their skin was like real tough leather because they were right there by those furnaces and working with all of that heat and everything. It's going to take a toll and effect on your skin, etc.
Oh
You
yeah.
know,
And
so,
Watchman, I believe it says on this business card. I don't have it in front of me, but I believe it says something about G scale trains on his business card. So I'll let y'all know how that goes. And you never know. You're right. I may do a podcast highlighting his train business if he's
right,
willing to
right.
do it. That is. So, but
Uh, if, if,
I'm a local celebrity too, and so he'll do what I want. I know he will.
if, if nothing else, have him do a little video of all his trains and whatnot, and maybe have him on the show so he can narrate and explain what everything is and etc. Show it on your show.
Right,
Um,
I can get with him and produce some kind of video, and then we can. You're exactly right. It don't have to be a live stream, but we can do a live stream talking about a tour of his whatever he's got, whatever type of
right,
facility he
right.
has.
You
So,
know,
and I love that kind of stuff where they put so much meticulous effort into recreating, you know, a neighborhood, a mountain,
right.
bridges,
Yeah, they have the
train.
full diorama and everything, all the
Yeah,
everything in 3 dimensions and done down to the last little tiny details and everything. That is so cool.
yeah,
I mean,
thousands of hours of effort goes into a lot of people who are hardcore about this stuff, and
right.
they'll go up and go and surround the room. It's not
Mhm.
just like one big old piece of massive plywood table. I mean, they literally surround. If they have it in their basement, their entire
Right,
basement becomes basically scenery for their train ride. So
right,
it's
right.
fascinating. So I'll let you all know how that goes. But for this morning, we got to chalk another one up in the books as being completed. Stick a pin in it.
Absolutely.
Trailer Park Boys use G scale trains to ship weed. Okay. No kidding.
Hey, why not? Whatever works. That's something I always say. Whatever works.
Yeah, that's information I did not know. Trailer Park Boys, I've heard of the show, but I've never
Yeah,
actually
the
watched it.
Trailer Park Boys are pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I once was a hardcore, kind of fan. Nowadays, they're cool, but I'm not like all into it and everything anymore. But it's something that as a younger person I thought was really awesome. You know,
You've moved on. You've grown. As we were just talking about. Uh, so yeah, so
uh,
guys, thanks for stopping in, Tony. As always, we have a good time doing this. This is fun.
absolutely.
Tomorrow it'll be T Skillet and Tony. That's if T Skillet can, have
If he
his.
remembers to get up and come on,
Well, he needs to have his like housemaid or butler wake him up.
right, right.
Yeah, because he's got it like that. He'll be like, "No, don't tell people that ain't true."
Hey, Watchman, what do you think about crank anchors? You like your Trailer Park Boys? What do you think about the crank anchors?
Acres.
Oh yeah, you should check them out too. Yeah, you should check them out too.
I'm afraid to now.
Especially Special Ed. It's one of the
Special
characters.
special ed. Hey,
That's one of the characters. Yeah, yeah.
oh,
You
I
like
believe it.
Special Ed. Yeah.
That's it's probably somebody that's probably at my own after my own heart. I'm sure.
Well, I'll put it like this: he is literally Special Ed. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
All right, boys, girls. I got to roll. I've got stuff I got to do today.
Right,
Uh,
right.
so the busy schedule, busy.
Yep,
So
yep. No rest for the wicked. Oh,
y'all tune in tomorrow to the show, and then I'll see you guys on Friday. And I'll
right,
probably see
right,
you before then sometime, Tony, I'm sure. But the rest of
right.
everybody else, Friday morning for me. But T Skill and Tony tomorrow. So you guys have a good morning. Enjoy your day. I hope it's not raining like it is here where you're at. But as they say, so this shall pass. So there's a guy that did crank calls. That's lots of audio on YouTube of him making calls when he kept calling this old Jewish man. That's hilarious.
That shit is hilarious.
Yeah. All righty. Uh, but
Hey,
till next time, guys, we're out of here.
so y'all have a great one.